Yeah, Sean, I want to focus on those 2 points. But first of all, my gosh, this is embarrassing. It's hard to keep track of all of those jumbles of words. And it's clear that she was sent there to be the voice of the United States as a purely political calculation. You and I both know she has no foreign policy background, no foreign policy understanding. She has no concept of the cost of war, nor does she have the temperament necessary to be the voice of the United States on the global stage. So it's embarrassing to see this play out. I want to talk about the 2 examples that you raised there, where she talked about deterrence and sanctions. How do you deter someone by punishing them before they do it? It's very simple. This is kind of like grade school understanding, where if you say, I'm going to punish you before you do something, wouldn't a kid say, OK, fine, well, I might as well go ahead and do it anyway? This is not rocket science here. And secondly, talking about incurring cost. And this one hits very close to home, because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have both said, you know what, we are going to incur a cost. They're not going to pay the price. They're multi-millionaires, both of them. The power elite are not going to be negatively impacted by this continued escalation. You know who will pay the price? It is hard-working Americans all across our country, and frankly, people around the world who are already paying the price and will continue to see things worsen. This energy and gas crisis, raising prices, as you mentioned, we'll see those continue to go up. We'll see that squeeze happening across the country and around the world. Russia is a major exporter of wheat. We'll see those costs increased around food. Russia is also a major exporter of nickel, which is a major element of the electric vehicle industry. The list goes on and on about the direct impacts that the American people ourselves will have to pay, as well as the impact on the global economy. So really what they should be saying is not we are going to incur costs. They should be looking directly at the American people and saying, you know what, you are going to pay the price for this. And yet they have not once justified to the American people how their policies and their actions actually serve our best interests, how they serve our national security interests, how they serve our economic interests. They have failed to do that, and the American people will be left holding the bag.
Tulsi, I want to be very clear. I absolutely, positively do not believe in any way that the United States should be involved in this conflict. But I do believe that Joe Biden's energy and economic policies created all of this, a 40-year high in inflation, on average about $1.50 more a gallon. Everything we pay for costs more. Add to that this situation where, because we artificially reduced the world's supply of energy, that then forced our allies right into Putin's hands, and he now controls their destiny, the lifeblood of the world's economy. You had an interesting theory that if only Biden would have said, no, Ukraine will never be a part of NATO, you think we might have been able to prevent things that way. Explain that part.
It's really just looking at the world through a very realistic lens, Sean. It's understanding the world that we live in and not the world that maybe some people wished existed. And that reality is Putin has made very clear all along that their security, in his mind, is what's at stake here. And they do not want to see
I don't want to interrupt you,
U.S.
but
and NATO
Putin also said Ukraine is not a country. And he has been saying this going back many, many years. So this has been, these territorial ambitions have existed a long time.
On the security component. They have. They go way back, and they pre-exist this moment that we're facing. But with regards to U.S. and NATO, just like we would not want Russia to come in and start putting their tanks and missiles on our borders, either with Mexico or elsewhere, Russia says, hey, I don't want U.S. and NATO coming and making their military outposts on our borders within Ukraine. Guess what? The United States doesn't want that either. NATO countries don't want that either. So why not recognize, say, hey, this is something that actually is common ground. It is highly unlikely Ukraine will ever become a member of NATO. Let's take it off the table, and immediately that would de-escalate these tensions and take that reasoning away from Putin for him to build up this presence on Ukraine's border.
I might be a little more suspicious than you in believing that I think this is very personal for Putin, and he's taking this as this is Russian land and we will take it, and how far he goes with that, I don't know. By the way, speaking at CPAC, I was going to be there. I had a conflict. I'm not able to go, but Congratulations, and I look forward to watching your speech.
Thanks.